Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have Orden Ogan, who has a new album called Final Days, which released on March 12th via AFM Records. Right now, I'm being joined by Seeb to share some more information about this stellar release and what the band has got coming up. So, Seeb, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hello, hello.
Absolutely. Great to have you on. Now, I guess my first question, Seeb, is this album, Final Days, based on the singles and some of the artwork and some of the videos, I'm starting to get an idea that this is perhaps a technologically based or themed album. Am I right?
Themed, yes. Like a sci-fi record, maybe like a dark sci-fi record, but it's not an actual concept record, if that makes any sense. I don't like doing like full concept records because I have the impression that it is so limiting when you write songs, and you will have to be telling a story instead of having the song like develop itself. You know, there's just the air to breathe is missing for the song then. And so yes, but we thought we might go with a dark science fiction record. And actually, when we came up with the idea and the title, Final Days, we thought we might write 10 songs about the one or the other possibility of mankind finding its end. And so we had In the Dawn of the AI, that is about an artificial intelligence taking over. We had It Is Over, that is about the last asteroid impact on Earth. There was actually also a song about the killer virus. We decided to not put that on the record because we didn't think it was very appropriate right now. It was all written in 2019, I have to add. And but there's a lot of other stuff on the record as well. What I really like is like to pick a semantic field, like a field of words that is somehow connected to the overall theme, and then build metaphors with that and tell it actually like a totally different story. For example, you got this song Black Hole, that, I mean, obviously if you hear the word black hole, you think about space and, you know, maybe science fiction or whatever. But it is actually about the feeling that the weight of your own depression is dragging you down to the ground. Whoa. Stuff like that. There's also the track Heart of the Android, where people are expecting it is about the question if a computer program or a robot or whatever, or some sort of a program can get some sort of a personality once it's sophisticated enough. But actually it is written about a guy or a girl who has got the impression that he or she just has to function all the time. It is expected that he or she works just like a machine would do, stuff like that, you know. So I really love that, to put in like several meanings in these songs, in the lyrics. And it's always great when people come to us after the shows and there will be people like, I finally got what the track is about like 4 years later, you know, something like that.
Well, I guess that could happen. Yeah, I mean, that'll happen to me. I'll be seeing you guys live, and I'll be like, "Okay, I get Gunman now. Like, I get it." You know? I
mean, Gunman. There's really nothing more to Gunman. It's just our homage to the Wild West. You know, it's like a classical revenge story, Wild West revenge story. So there's nothing more to that. But there are other songs.
Yeah, you know, true story. That's actually the album that I found you guys on because Spotify was doing its thing in its algorithm, kicking out artists, and I heard this one-man choir, and I'm like, what in the world is that? And then there's like, you know, heavy guitars, everything was just mixed properly, the melodies are all fantastic, so I was just, you know, that was that, and now we're here.
Awesome.
Yeah. Is it a one-man choir?
No, I think on Gunman it was like the choir parts that were like, I'm not really sure, like 22 people or something, and they were all singing the same thing. And then we doubled that like 3 times, and then we did like the third, and then the fifth, and then the octave. And so it does actually, I think on Gunman you will have like the impression of like 120 people or so singing. So it's not a one-man choir.
Yeah, definitely not. Did you guys do something similar production wise with this record, or were you limited at all with how 2020 was going?
No, the funny thing is the first things that we really recorded were the drums and the choir. That's like super weird. Normally you wouldn't do that, but the pre-production was well enough so that we could do that.
Yeah.
And so the choirs were already done after, I think between Christmas and New Year 2019. On the 27th or something, 2019. And this time we just went with, I doubled a lot of my voices, but we just went with 4 people in the studio.
Okay. To do all
so
the choirs?
It was just, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, it still sounds big. Still sounds huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So you guys had pre-pro that was so good, you could start off with, drums, sure, but choirs, which is cool. What goes into your pre-production process?
I got my own studio and working here a lot. So when we do pre-productions, like most of the songs, I'm writing with our drummer Dirk as well. And I'm mixing up German and English now. Das ist also super. Ich rede einfach Deutsch weiter.
Ach, das ist ja toll, meine Freunde.
Oh, it's just great if you're switching like on like every half hour. Then it's like at a certain point you will be like, okay. What was the question? Sorry.
Ach, genau. What was my question? Basically, what went into the pre-pro process? And
right. Yeah. I mean, when we're sitting down and write songs, we will program drums and play scratch guitars like straight away and stuff like that. And we are also most of the time go into details very, very quick. So we will already work on drum fill-ins and stuff like that, even when we're just demoing stuff, you know. So our pre-productions will be so good that at the time that we go into the studio, like everyone, we write in the studio, but you know what I mean, like really recording, everyone will really know what they have to do, especially Dirk. And then it still takes another 7-10 days or whatever, not because he's a bad drummer, but because we just take so much time to really work on all the details, you know.
Yeah. Do you guys use something like, I don't know, Superior Drummer to nail things down, and then he just kind of like embellishes from that point?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. I'm looking at the music video because In the Dawn of the AI was released, actually looks like summer of last year, but either way, killer music video. Take us through the concept of this guy.
The guy? Which guy? the singer, that's me.
I guess by guy I mean like the music video. So take us through the concept of
this. Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
No, In the Dawn of the AI, it is a track about real artificial intelligence that is taking control and decides to get rid of all these stupid humans. And so that is what we tried to visualize in the video clip as well. So it plays in a basically apocalyptic world where everything is already lost. And I think actually, the threat is real. What we have so far, from my understanding, is just self-learning programs and self-learning machines. But that is not like a real AI. Like, people are always referring to AI and artificial intelligence. But from my understanding, so far, we don't really have one.
No.
An artificial intelligence that is aware of itself and is developing further and further. And Elon Musk is warning people about that. There have to be regulations because we don't really know which goals a real AI could possibly have. And it doesn't, I don't think we will end up having Skynet, like from the Terminator movies.
Yeah.
I don't think that is realistic, but it really depends on, I think if you got a program that is developing like lightning fast, then we humans will be far too stupid to understand it in a couple of maybe hours or days.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really depends on what the goals of the AI could be. So, like I said...
There's so many things there, though, Seeb, because it has to recognize itself as its own consciousness, but then it also has to have the ability to have foresight to create a goal, to understand a fictitious future.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Yeah, correct. I mean, like I said, there's none so far. But like I also said, I think Elon Musk is absolutely right when he's warning people about that and says that we really need regulations for developing AI. And the funny thing, I just spoke to a guy, I think he was also from London, like a couple of days ago, and he's actually working with AI. So he was like, "Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that," you know. So,
okay.
Basically, it's actually exactly that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. One of my favorite comments actually on this music video in the YouTube comments is they go from winter survivors to swamp ghost people to blind cowboys to sci-fi warriors. I love this band. So
yeah, I love this band as well. The thing is, it really keeps it interesting. You know, I know there are a lot of bands that really stick to one concept. But I find this is boring. We didn't want to do that, so I think it's great for the Orden Ogan fans to really not know what's happening next. Mm-hmm. So you really can predict what's going to come. And I mean, there are also like bands that have been super successful that haven't stick to like one theme. Like take Iron Maiden for example. Mm-hmm. It's possibly the best example. Power Slave or Somewhere Back in Time. Mm-hmm. No, Somewhere in Time is the name, right? Somewhere in Time is the record, yes. Yep. And yeah, I really like that as well. And to be honest, I think that Final Days is also like a little bit like a mixture between a self-fulfilling prophecy and fan service. We're a band that we try to be like very close to our audience. So when we can, we go off stage and to the merch stand and write autographs and stuff. I mean, it's obviously getting worse and worse and more complicated to do that as the band grows.
Right.
But if we can, we will do that. And in the end, in the last shows of the Gunman touring cycle, there were so many people coming to us telling us like exactly that, like swamp and like post-apocalyptic ice world, and then ghost cowboys, and the people were all like, where do you want to go next? There's nowhere else to go. Do you want to go to space or what? And if you get this question for like 50 times or something, then you'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe we should do a sci-fi record.
Probably should. Yeah. Team up with NASA when they send their next Mars rover. One of the tracks they could play on the Martian surface could be, you know, I think it could work. I think it could work. Something you mentioned there that I thought was really interesting is as the band grows, it gets harder to hang out at the merch table. And take us through that experience. What's that like?
Hanging out at the merch stand or hanging out or be a growing band?
I guess a mixture of the two, because something that you mentioned was it's becoming harder to hang out at the merch table because you guys are growing.
Yeah, I mean, the more people there are, the more difficult it is. You know, of course, if you play like, I mean, we started, there's some misconceptions in the internet, but we really count the history of Orden Ogan from 2008 on when the Veil record was released.
Yeah.
And so we started playing in very, very small venues and playing in front of like 50 people or stuff like that, like all the other bands do, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same here. And like the last show, the last shows that we did were like, I don't know, like between 700 and 1,000 something, you know, like 1,500 people, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to the merch stand and you got like 1,500 people lined up that all want to get your autograph, I mean, it's math, you know, it takes just a bit longer than it would do with 50 people.
This is very true.
Especially if they all also want to have pictures and stuff and have their boobs signed or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I mean, but
it's a tough job, Seeb.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
So, but I mean, the good thing, I really think the good thing for Orden Ogan is it was like a constant evolution and a constant growth. You know, it is not that we had something like an overnight success or something, but it was just also like all the time developing and going a little bit higher from time to time. So one step at a step.
Yeah.
One step by a step, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny, right? Because people think that because your guys, maybe it could be a number of things. When you're on a label that's well known, you've got good production value, you guys know how to write songs. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on there. But yeah, I'm looking at your page on Spotify right now, and Veil came out in 2008, which was 12 or 13 years ago now at this point. And I didn't find out about you guys until like last year. So I think it just goes to show that keep kicking up music, keep getting better at what you do. And as long as you stick to the path, what's the word I heard recently? Stay in the saddle. As long as you stay in the saddle, eventually people will find you. But by the time they find you, it's like album 5 or 6, your production level's up there. And they're like, oh man, this is a overnight success. Well, no, not really.
It is that keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Now there was a track. Unfortunately, I didn't write it down, but I was blown away by the guitar solo, and it was either Let the Fire Rain or In the Dawn of the AI. But there was, not to say that like there's any bad guitar solos on the record, Seeb, but there was a guitar solo. I'm like, damn.
I mean, in Let the Fire Rain, there is just a guitar melody, so no real solo, so it has to be In the Dawn of the AI.
Okay.
And this is actually the first guitar solo that our new guitar player Patrick played.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a pretty good one. He knows what he's doing.
Okay, we'll tell him that he did a good job.
He knows.
Okay, of course he does. Of course, any good guitar player would know they did a good job.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when our former guitar player Toby left the band, we were really thinking about who could replace him. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty tough, actually, coming up with somebody, because, I mean, it's not exactly technical death metal what we play, but it's still, it's not easy to play that stuff, especially if you got all this shredding going on the guitar,
Yeah.
And so there was no one coming to our minds. And like one other thing is that, especially in our case, like we are probably one of the nicest bands you will ever meet. Like everyone is super down to earth, super relaxed guys. We're very, very grateful that we can do what we can do. I mean, we worked a lot to get to that point, but still, you have no ego bullshit going on and stuff. Like everyone always in a good mood, also with the crew and stuff. So it's really like peace and harmony, Mm-hmm. And so that is like equally as important than having a guy that is able to play that stuff. And so, like I said, there was nobody coming to our minds. And then a friend of mine called me and was like, I heard you need a new guitar player. What is it with Patrick? And I said, I just have seen him once. I have no idea about the guy. And he said, he looks like a young version of Zakk Wylde. He plays like a young version of Zakk Wylde. He's 30 minutes from your place. He's a big Orden Ogan fan. Super nice guy. And he's a guitar teacher, so he can go on tour. And I was like, okay, this sounds like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And so I gave him a call, and the first thing he does is he's laughing at me.
Right.
And I said, why are you laughing? And he said, don't think I'm a weirdo or something, but I somehow knew that this call would come. I expected this call to come at a certain point in time.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so then you know what the question is? And he was like, yes, and I'm in. And so this is how this worked, yeah.
Okay. Funny, Zakk Wylde came up. I didn't get a Zakk Wylde vibe from the guitar solo, but maybe there's other things.
No, when he plays just different stuff, he also plays in another band here from the area,
Yeah.
And so he can do that, but he's very versatile, like a very technical player. So and he's totally nailing it. It was big fun to produce the solo in the studio.
Yeah. Did him coming in, like switching out guitar players, how much did that change the album, or did that not really impact?
No, I think Patrick was absolutely aware of what he had to do, because he knew the band before and he was a fan of the band before.
Yeah.
And so if you're really into something and you really have an idea of how things should sound, then you won't do like a blues solo or something,
Yeah, of course. That's funny. Something you kind of mentioned there, Steve, was the kind of metal band you are. That's a good question. How do you consider yourselves? Do you consider yourself power metal?
We are often referred to as be a power metal band, but I think it is what comes closest. But like a lot of people say, it transcends the borders of being power metal.
Yeah.
So I also don't think, like, if you say the word power metal, Orden Ogan would not be the first band that comes to your mind, because it's a lot more modern than traditional power metal. It has got all these hard riffs going on, like the very fat production and stuff like that. So it's not exactly that. It's a more modern version, like taking the power metal of the last century into the new century, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of very, very hard and modern riffs. Also, I mean, if you strip that down and throw away the choirs and the keyboards or the orchestra stuff, it is pretty hard. Actually, it could be metalcore at times, you know. Mm-hmm. So plus the vocals, of course. I think it's unique thing. So if there are people listening or watching who don't know Orden Ogan, then go on Spotify and check it out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, get blown away. It's like that. What was it, Maxwell Audio or whatever, the stereo system? He's like, he's blown away. That guy. One other question I have. I'm watching a music video for Inferno, which just came out recently. And because I'm a noob, I'm an Orden Ogan noob. I don't know the answer to this question. But I see this guy. This guy appears in the artwork on records. He's on this record. This guy looks like he's in this music video. Who is this guy?
So in 2008, we released our debut record. It was called Veil. And we had already finished all the songs and all the lyrics and stuff. And then we figured it somehow could also be a concept story, like all the songs are connected in some way. And we decided to then write a concept story around the finished songs. And we had this guy on the artwork already, but it was more about the artwork of a guy like walking between all these gallows, or is it gallows? The noose, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're gallows.
And so since the record was called Veil, we came up with the name Alistair Veil. And then when we did the first T-shirts for this album, then we also put like the guy on the shirts, and it very, very soon became the band mascot Alistair Veil, like Eddie is for Iron Maiden, for example. And we tried to not go on with him. Like we put him on the back cover on the Ravenhead record in 2015. And there were a lot of people like really complaining, where is Alistair Veil? We need him back on the cover. And we said, relax, he's on the back cover. And then it was also okay. But so we realized it just took like 4 records or the 4th record, and people wouldn't accept him to be not there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. See, now I'm getting up to speed here. Sweet. Something else you mentioned was lots of orchestration, synths, orchestration, choir. How long does it take you guys to work on a song until you know, like, this is it, this is done? It doesn't need another French horn.
It really depends. It takes as long as it takes. It can happen that some tracks are finished in, like, when we are demoing them in, like, just a couple of sessions, like 3-4 sessions where we work on that like for 6-7 hours or something. Mm-hmm. There can be other songs when you work on all the details that take us weeks to get them to the point that we think okay, this is now perfect.
I guess one of my follow-up questions to that, Seeb, is what is the core of the song? Is it a guitar band that has these orchestrations in it, or is it an orchestration band that has guitars in it?
No, it's a guitar band, I would say, but I really think I would phrase it differently. I would say the core of the song is a song, and a good song stays a good song because we can we did a lot of orchestral or acoustic versions of other songs as well. Mm-hmm. And hello, little man.
Yeah, this is my son Gabriel. He's our assistant engineer on the podcast.
Hello. Hi, Gabriel. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am excellent.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. This is Seeb from Orden Ogan. You know we listen to this album all the time, right? They have a new album that is coming out, so we're chatting right now about. We've even touched base on this album as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a choir of like 120 people that was tripled on that album. That's ridiculous.
That is crazy. I can't imagine how many tracks that would be.
It's probably like 1,000 tracks just in the choir alone.
Yeah.
No, it's not that much.
Pro Tools is giving you errors.
The thing is, in my list it says I got another interview at like basically now. Okay. How long will you take? How long would you take? Should we just do it later?
No, let's finish up right now then, so you can move on to your next call. Seeb, Dankeschön.
Bitteschön.
Sweet. Is there anything that we missed? Because we chatted about pretty much everything. But is there anything that we missed that management says we need to talk about?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we got a great box set going on. People should really go and check that out. And especially like the Digipack version of the new record with a live show on it as a bonus. That is great as well. So if you like the band, go and check it out. And one thing that I would really like to mention, as there are people listening to this thing here, is that I think the most important thing right now is stay healthy, guys. It might not be the most dangerous virus on the planet, but it certainly is not harmless. I don't want to have it. And one other thing that I really, really would like to mention is there are a lot of people that are really not doing great right now, like getting depression with the economy going down, people losing their jobs and stuff like that. So what I really want to tell the people is just keep going. It's not the end of the world. It's not the final days to say that. It will get better at a certain point. Even if you lose your job and everything looks like really bad, it will get better at a certain point. So don't jump out of the window. It's not the end of the days. And especially if you go and listen to the new Orden Organ record, then it will be great.
It will be. And you guys left the track about the virus off the record, so it's okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, then thank you so much, Seeb, for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today.
Thank you. Next time, hopefully a bit longer.
Hopefully. We'll book an hour next time. That's what we'll do.
Awesome.
Whoa, that's a big interview.
Yeah.
Awesome.